Good evening and welcome everyone. Today we are going to talk about fixing SELinux issues. So in the total of my training classes, this is one that is relevant for RHCSA as well as RHCE. If you are preparing for the Red Hat RHCSA and RHCE exams, then you probably are aware that SELinux is a very important topic. It is clearly mentioned on the objectives for the RHCSA exam, so you need to know how to deal with it. The funny thing about the RHCSA exam is that for that exam, there is not really any services on the objective list. You don't have to configure a web server, FTP server, or anything. That is more in RHCE, and that makes SELinux very important for RHCE as well. So let's get going about SELinux. So this session is about troubleshooting SELinux. So if you are the ideal audience, you would have done something with SELinux already. But I forgive you if you haven't. And I will present my session in a way that even if you haven't done much with SELinux before, that this session is still going to be helpful. Together with my good friend Jack Daniels, a couple of nights in October, I wanted to register some SELinux videos, and I think they are quite cool and they are quite good actually, because they cover everything you want to be knowing about SELinux. So this is about SELinux troubleshooting. So let's do some trouble. I'm doing it from a terminal, by the way. Here is my shell terminal. That works a little bit better than doing it from the virtual machine directly. But let's do some tests. I'm an ignorant user and I want to do some cool browsing on my website. So I'm going to use elinks to go to http://localhost. And then we see this. Now, I know that folks don't read anymore, but if you would actually take the time to read what it says, then you can see that this page is used to test the proper operation of the Apache HTTP server. And a little bit further right here, if you are the administrator, you should add your website contents to the directory var www.html. The thing is, if you see this page, your website doesn't work properly. And I have prepared this website as just one example of things that might go wrong with SELinux, because that is something that is going to happen to you on the exam as well. Things might go wrong with SELinux. And the idea is that you need to be able to fix them. So my website configuration, that will be the first thing to look at. Well, really, would the website configuration be the first thing to look at? It all depends. If things go wrong, you often suspect what is happening. And if things go wrong on RHEL 7 with something that you are quite familiar with, then probably SELinux is creating trouble. So let's not analyze the website and verify that we have a document root in etc httpd conf and httpd.conf, which is set to /web. And let's not waste too much time on checking the contents of a web where we can see that there's an index.html that should display the exciting text welcome. Let's instead have a look at the current SELinux state. And in order to do that, we're using the get-enforce command. So get-enforce is showing the current status of SELinux. I like to explain it as following. SELinux has two different states, and in one of these states, it has two different modes. So the SELinux state is between disabled or enabled. It is either on or it is off. If it is on, that means that the SELinux supporting libraries and the entire framework is active in the kernel and SELinux is doing stuff. And if it is off, then that means that there is no SELinux functionality actually present on your system. So SELinux is doing nothing. Now, if SELinux is enabled, it can be in two different modes, which is enforcing and permissive. Enforcing means that it is actually blocking, it is monitoring and blocking. Permissive means that it's just monitoring, not blocking. And that means that in permissive mode, you can read log files about what is happening in SELinux. And in enforcing mode, you can read log files to find out what is going wrong. And you can actually, rely on the protection of SELinux. Now, if you are going to troubleshoot, using enforcing mode is not the most convenient thing to do. I mean, let's have a look at the SELinux log file, which is var log audit log. So the var log audit.log is showing the information. And I mean, really, do you really want to go all through this? I don't think so. This is way too much information, and it is not presented in the easiest way. Before you dive into specific log files, you need to find out if it is related to SELinux or not. In order to do that, you will do set enforce. So set enforce permissive is what would switch SELinux from the current enforcing mode to permissive mode. And we can do get enforce to verify it is now permissive. And if I'm repeating this elinx command again, now you can see that it is working. So this is positive proof that what was wrong was related to SELinux. And now that we know that, we can start doing stuff about it. And how should we do this? Well, we should have a look at the audit log. If you have ever done a Red Hat course, then you know that on a Red Hat course, they don't tell you how audit logs are working, unless you have an excellent instructor, of course, but that is not normally included. But if you really want to know what is going on in SELinux, you should really do grep avc on a var log audit log. This is showing all lines that are tagged with the AVC audit message. AVC means access vector cache. So it doesn't mean anything that is useful, but you only need to know that you need to grep for AVC on the audit log to find out what is happening. And there you can see, this is the SELinux related messages. So it's always a good idea to start with the last. And in the last, you can see the type is AVC. And the message is audit with an audit timestamp of this weird epoch time. And you can see that there is an AVC denied. Now, what has been denied? An open has been denied. So someone has tried to open something. And in here you can see that a read has been denied and a get attribute has been denied. Now, it has been denied on what exactly? Well, on the target class file. So someone has tried to open a file and SELinux has denied that. Now, we want to know who exactly it was. Well, it was PID 3725. The command that is related to that PID is httpd. And the path that is related to the deny is index.html. And this index.html is on device mapper device dm-1. So that is apparently an LVM logical volume. And we can even see an inode number of that device and a source context and a target context. Now, this source context and target context is key to understanding SELinux. Because what really is SELinux? SELinux is a mechanism to specify which source objects can access which specific target objects. Very often that means that SELinux is a mechanism that specifies which processes can access which specific ports or which specific files. And in SELinux there is this nice thing that is called the policy. And in the policy you can check what exactly is allowed and what is not. So if any process is trying to access any file, then we need a line in the policy that is going to allow it. And if it is not allowed, well, then you get these nasty AVC denied messages. Like here, the source context, that is the source object, that is HTTPD, that was using the context label system U, system R, HTTPD underscore T, and the target context is unconfined U, object R, and default underscore T. So this nasty little web server has tried to access a file that doesn't have any specific label that is going to allow access to that file. So SELinux has denied it. So now that we know what is wrong, the next thing is to fix it. And there are a couple of methods to fix it. One way would be to create a rule that allows it. If it's annoying you that this is denied, well, you could create a line in the policy that is telling, hey, you know what, I'm going to allow from now on that HTTPD flagged processes can access files that are flagged default underscore T. Oh, by the way, I didn't mention yet, in the context label, we have a user, a role, and a type. The only thing that matters, well, it depends on the level that you want to go into, but the only thing that matters for RHCSA and RHCE is that you know how to handle the type. So we are just going to look at HTTPD underscore type, and we are forgetting about the user and the role. So HTTPD underscore T is trying to access default underscore T, and that has been denied. So as I just mentioned, solution number one would be to create a rule that is going to allow HTTPD T to access objects that are flagged default underscore T. Is that a good idea? Well, no. Because the purpose of SELinux is that you are going to use SELinux to secure your system. And that means that you are just going to allow your web server to access content that is flagged as web server accessible. And this target file currently is not flagged as web server accessible. So the solution would be to apply the correct context label. Now, if you have looked into SELinux before, then you know that SEmanage fcontext is going to help you with that. Let me be brief about it, and let me do something like man SEmanage -fcontext. SEmanage is the generic utility that you're going to use to manage SELinux stuff, and it works with subcommands like fcontext for file context. And it has a man page, SEmanage fcontext. And if you want to know how it works, then you can see the examples by the end of the man page. I'm doing this relatively quickly because I don't want to focus on how to set context. I want to focus on how to analyze what is going wrong in this session. Watch my YouTube recordings if SEmanage is new to you. So what we can see here is SEmanage fcontext -a-t HTTPD syscontent t, and we're going to set it on web and everything that might appear under the web directory. This is just an example, assuming that /web is the directory that you want to be working with. So this line would write the setting to the policy, and it is very nice if you've got it in the policy, but after you need to apply the policy settings to the file system. This is also the big difference between SEmanage and chcon. Some people still think that chcon is the way to manage SELinux. Using chcon is an extremely bad idea. That is how I failed my first attempt on RHCE. I was SUSE certified everything, and I thought, hey, let's do RHCE. It must be easy because I'm a SUSE certified everything. So I bought this book of this gentleman whose name I'm not going to mention out of respect. And this gentleman was explaining that in order to manage SELinux, you need to use chcon. So I applied all these contexts using chcon to the file system. And then for some reason, something went wrong and I needed to do troubleshooting. And after troubleshooting, my file system, well, SELinux was telling that it was relabeling the file system. I didn't know what that meant, but I was happy that my system came up again. And that was also at the moment that my exam was over. And I failed the exam. And why is that? Well, If SELinux detects that at any moment in time your file system has been unmonitored, then SELinux cannot rely on the file system anymore, and it is going to apply default context to every single file on the file system. And you know what that means to everything that you have done using chcon. It is gone. So don't ever use chcon. Chcon is bad. It's evil and you shouldn't use it. Remove it from your system because it's bad. I hope that message is clear. Let's get back to troubleshooting, because that is what I really wanted to talk about. I'm not going to apply this fix yet because you already know how to do that. I'm going to talk about some more troubleshooting. Wouldn't it be nice if we have some automated way of getting messages about SELinux? Some easy to use end user interface. Is anyone aware of a command like that? Darius, by the way, thank you for your feedback. Nice, interesting additional command. You have probably heard of SELert before. What is SELert? Well, SELert is a system that is going to help you to analyze SELinux log messages and present them in a readable way. The idea behind this is that you can easily analyze what is going wrong. So let's do SELert -a var log audit.log. And it is going to analyze and it is going to interpret what is going wrong. And it is going to tell you what you can do to fix it. Now, I am carefully scrolling back to this very useful output. Wow, that is a lot of information. And here you can see that the raw audit message. There we've got it. Type equals AVC, denied get attribute. Okay, I'm doing the get attribute. We have also seen a get attribute. I was previously talking about the open, but that doesn't change anything. I want you to understand how extremely useful SELert is. Let's read. So what we can see here, the command is httpd, the path is index.html, and we have had a get attr denied on the target class file. And what SELert is doing, SELert is trying to show what you should do. So look at this very useful information. SELinux is preventing user admin httpd from read access on the file. Okay, we have concluded that. The next thing that is happening is that SELert is going to check a database. And this database, we can see that the plugin catch all labels with 83.8% confidence suggests the following. Hey, that means this is what you should do, right? On a scale of 0 to 100, if I am 83.8% confident that it's going to be sunny weather tomorrow, well, I'm living in the Netherlands, so that's probably not going to be true. But normally, 83.8% confidence means that you can be pretty confident. So what is the magic thing that we should do? Well, SEmanaged fcontext -a-t file type on $fix target path. Fix target path, of course, is the name of this file, and file type is one of the following. Yeah, right. So if I would be an ignorant system administrator, then this wouldn't be too useful, right? So this is not what you wanna be doing. What you would do as an ignorant system administrator next is that you would read on and see plugin catch on 17.1% confidence suggests. If you believe that HTTPD should be be allowed to read access on the file by default, yeah, I want to know. I want HTTPD to have access to this file. I'm playing the ignorant system administrator, right? And I'm frustrated because I just discovered that this first thing wasn't too useful, and I'm too happy that it's suggesting anything else, even if it's just 17.1% confidence. So what we should do is allow this access for now by executing grep httpd var log audit.log audit to allow -m my poll. So what does this mean? This means let's filter all messages in the audit log that are containing the text httpd, and let's pipe this to this nice command audit to allow. What is audit to allow going to do? Well, audit to allow is going to create a module, a policy module file that is going to allow the deny action. And this line is going to create a policy module file that is going to allow all deny actions for HTTPD. I'm an ignorant system administrator. And what I don't know is that I have just had this evil hacker coming in, and SELinux has perfectly denied all the shell access that the evil hacker has tried to do from the web server environment. And I don't know that, but I am so happy that I have found my solution to get SELinux do what it's supposed to do. So I would be delighted to type this. I hope it is clear that this is an extremely bad idea. Shame on you, Dan Walsh, for writing something like this. I just want to add that I highly respect Dan Walsh. He is the greatest guy working with Red Hat. He is Mr. SELinux, and I really like what he's doing, but I don't understand why an intelligent guy like him has written anything that is so dangerous like this. Let's do it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy and paste this, and let's execute it. So paste it, audit to allow. Okay, that was fast. So we now have this my poll. It's not very beautiful that I have written this my poll in the web server document root. I'm just going to ignore that for now. And the next thing to do is se module -i mypoll.pp, which is going to load the SELinux policy file. This requires some reactivation of parts of SELinux. SELinux is quite complicated and sometimes involves a lot of action. And that is why it's taking a second or so. And if right now I'm doing get enforce again, just want to check where I'm at. And I'm doing set enforce and forcing. Oh, there we go. And I would do my elinx command again. Yes, it works. I have fixed my problem. Now let's analyze what you've really done. While creating these policy files using audit to allow, there is mypoll.te. And this mypoll.te, that is really the policy file that has been created. Now, what we can read here is that all these AVC deny messages have been summarized into a couple of simple to understand lines. This is not too complicated. So the header is module mypoll1.0, so that is the name of the policy module. Then we have require, that is the ingredients that are going to be needed to apply this fix. And we can see type httpd_t. That is something that is in the policy already. So this is going to apply for httpd_t. It is related to default _t, and we need a class of the type of file, and the permissions on that file class is read and get attribute and open. And next, the line that it's creating is allow httpd default _t file read get attr open. Now, how innocent is this line? Well, this isn't innocent at all, because default _t is going to be applied to many directories that are not on your file system by default. I mean, create a directory just a random directory and put a random file name in there, and you will get default _t as the file type. And this is going to allow SELinux to access all of those files. So let me repeat, using what SE Alert was suggesting there is not the brightest idea. How does that relate to the exam? Well, at the moment that you are on the exam, you can read SE Alert. Sometimes it is hinting towards things that might be useful, but you really need to add some understanding. If you apply lines like this without knowing what you are doing, then it is so extremely dangerous. Let me do SE module --help. And we can see that there was this install a new module, and I think we need to do -r to get it out of there. Let's do SE module sorry for that, SE module -l. That is going to list all the modules that are currently available. This is interesting as well. Look at this: Zabbix, Zareffa, Zebra. Do I have Zabbix on my system? No, I don't. Do I have Zareffa on my system? No, I don't. Do I have Zebra on my system? No, I don't. You understand the idea. By default, many SELinux modules are loaded, even for services that you might not have on your system. If you would be a real server administrator, then this might require some cleanup as well. So I can highly recommend cleaning up all the modules that you don't need using SE module -r. What was the name again? MyPol. So this is the way that you are going to remove modules that you don't need anymore. So now it is gone. Let's do another example. So my next example is going to be about ports. Let's do etc ssh d _config. Let's change the SSH configuration. How smart is this if you are on an SSH session? Well, you need to be careful, of course, but as I have direct access to the console of the virtual machine, I can do this. So what I'm going to do, I am going to change the SSH port to port 443. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, this might be useful if you are behind a firewall. Normally, firewalls don't allow access, behind a proxy. Normally, proxies don't allow access to port 22, which is your SSH server, but most proxies do allow access to port 443, unless they are doing deep packet inspection, of course. But this is a fairly common approach for SSH to hide your SSH server so that not every script kiddie is going to find your SSH server on the internet. So you're putting it on port 443. Of course, port 443 is already used by somebody else, right? We know that, but let's just try to find out what's going to happen. So systemctl restart sshd, and there we go. And do you think that is going to work? Well, let's do netstat -tulpen and grab on SSH. And what do we see? Well, we see a lot of things, but we don't see SSH. We don't see a lot of things about SSH listening on port 22. I'm just ignoring that because it would make my demo not so instructive. So thanks for mentioning it. But yeah. So apparently it hasn't loaded, right? So if I'm doing SSH-p2022 on localhost, I'm getting connection refused. Sorry, this is out of what I'm doing every day. I was doing it on port 443. It's going to get a connection refuse. LSOF-I would show more or less similar functionality if you prefer that. There you go. In here also I don't see many stuff listening on port 443. So let's analyze again, and let's start again from the audit log, because that is really what I want you to get out of this session, that you are not afraid of the audit log anymore. The audit log is the most beautiful thing for understanding how to deal with SELinux. So grab AVC on var log audit, audit log. And what we can see here is some systemd stuff. Let's just start at the end by lines like this. Command is sshd, and that's one. So we are getting a denied. And the denied this time is not on file activity, but it's a name bind on a TCP socket. That is SSHD trying to access port 443, and that is not allowed. So it is just telling us name bind for PID SSHD, source 443, source context is SSHD_T, target context is HTTP_port_T. And the target class is TCP_socket. Now if you read this and you understand a little bit what SELinux is doing, this kind of makes sense, right? So the next thing you might be doing is dig out what you need to do to change a port. The solution to that would be man on SEmanage dash ports. Was it ports or port? I'm always making the same mistake. It's port in singular, not plural. And here you can see if you want to change it, well, just do SEmanage port -a-t HTTPD port T. Well, that would be SSH port T for port TCP 8991, for example. By the way, if you want to know the exact port type, you can also use SEmanage port -L. There you can see all the port types that are currently applied. And if you grab that on SSH, then you can see that the port type that you should use is SSH_port T on port 22. So what you need to do is SEmanage port followed by -a-t SSH port T, and what was the syntax again? 443 TCP, right? Or something like that. Now I'm making a mistake. Let's have a look at the man page again. There it is. -p TCP followed by the port number. So -p TCP 443. Oh, too bad. Already defined. Any idea what is going wrong here? Well, it is easy. SEmanage -a is trying to add it, but we already have something assigned to this port. I need -m if I want to modify it. So this would probably work better. Takes a little bit of time. SELinux commands should always take a little bit of time. That normally is going to work. But in fact, I didn't want to show how to set a port assignment. I wanted to analyze what SEAlert is going to do. This time, I want to have a look at var log messages. The idea of SEAlert is that SEAlert is making the information easily available. And everybody knows that the audit log is kind of hard to read. Var log messages is not. So let's do a cat on var log messages. And there we can see, wow, plugin catch-all 100% confidence. 100%. So this is the thing to do, right? So let us look. We have two different messages. SELinux is preventing SSHD from name byte access on TCP socket. And again, SELinux is preventing user Eswin SSHD from name byte access on TCP socket. For complete SELinux messages, we can use SEAlert followed by this database code. Behind SEAlert is a database that is trying to interpret, and you can get information out of the database by just copy pasting this command. So what I'm going to do here, let's copy paste it, and you get some more information, including the raw messages and the additional information and everything you want to know. Now I am again this ignorant system administrator, and I see plugin catch-all 100% confidence. So this is the absolute truth, no doubt about it. So what it is telling is, if you believe that SSHD should be allowed name bind on the TCP socket by default, then you should report this as a bug. Stated otherwise, if you really think that SSHD should be allowed to bind to port 443, then you are weird. So, and report it as a bug. I really hope for Red Hat that not everybody who's trying to do this is going to report it as a bug, because they would have a lot of bugs. You can generate a local policy module to allow this, allow this access for now by executing. Now look at this, they are doing the same stupid thing again. Grab SSHD on var log audit log audit to allow -m my poll. So your friendly hacker that has just tried to abuse SSHD will be very thankful for it, and that is because after applying this policy module, he will have access to the system. And that is SE Alert. Now, how useful is SE Alert? I hope I made my point. It is a very dangerous utility. On some occasions, it will give you useful information. You know what? I'm going to do one more example where I do think that we have useful information. This is a little bit more complicated example. yum-y install vsftpd, the FTP server. Now let's do a little configuration on etc vsftpd.conf, and let's say we want to allow anonymous upload on the FTP server, and anonymous users should be able to write files as well. This is an excellent exercise, by the way, if you want to test yourself, if you are really ready for RHCE, SELinux and FTP related, do allow anonymous upload and try to get it working. So if you do want to allow anonymous upload, you should do grep ftp on etc pass wd. There you can see the home directory of the FTP user, which is var ftp. That is also the document root of the FTP, of the vsftpd server. The vsftpd server doesn't have any configuration file containing a line like document root is this or that. This is the way how you find it. So if you go to var ftp, and we do ls-ldz because it's fun dot, we can see that this directory is set to public content t. Now, if you're a little bit of a smart guy, then you probably know that you need semanage-a-t public content rwt on var ftp and everything that might be below that point. This is an error that I like making a lot. I've done it so often. It's not semanage, it's semanage fcontext, of course, because I want to do a file context, public content rw3. This is weird. Could not query record value, no source, no such file or directory. That is weird. I've never seen that before, but I've never tried it before while being in the directory. Let's do a restore con. There's rv on var ftp to write the setting, and now you can see the public content rwt has been set. Now the next thing that we need to do is grant write permissions as well. So let's do it in a very secure way. chmod 777 to var ftp pub. the public directory. You want to allow anonymous users to write to files, you might as well do chmod 777. There's a smarter way to approach that, but this is not about FTP and how to do that the best way. This is about SELinux and seeing if SELinux is going to like what we are going to do. So let's do systemctl restart of vs ftpd. I think I've met all conditions to allow anonymous user file upload. And let's install this amazing utility, LFTP. LFTP is an FTP command line client, which is very direct, which does not interpret anything that you are doing on your FTP server. If ever you want to do efficient troubleshooting of an FTP server, use the LFTP command line client and nothing else. Did you hear that? Use the LFTP command line client and nothing else. I have seen so many people having problem with FTP servers because they are going to try to do it with other utilities. LFTP is just the best utility that exists. So LFTP of localhost. That should work. So I'm doing an ls. That should work. I'm doing cd pub, that should work, and I'm doing a put of etc hosts, for example, and oh dear, could not create file. So there we are in trouble, right? The next thing in troubleshooting, of course, is check get enforce. We are enforcing, do set enforce, set it to permissive, and just try it again. So LFTP to localhost, and let's go check the contents pub and put etc host. This is so very important that you try by switching off SELinux temporarily so that you have positively identified that the problem really is SELinux. So I think we are agreed. We agreed the problem really is SELinux. Now let's do exit and let's do tail on var log audit log again and see what the audit log has to say. So in here we see, this was not nice. I shouldn't tail, I should grab on. So grab avc on var log audit log, and there we can see that vsftpd has had denied to pub host, denied an append, so it has been denied the write activity. Now, if it's about file context, then the audit log is quite informative. But if it's not about file context, but something like booleans, the audit log is not that informative. Let's do a cat on var log messages because I really want to see the end of it. And we can see a lot of FTP related stuff here and many things that are suggested, and I think this is the line where it is starting. So it is suggesting again to do some SE alert. I like these summaries, by the way, in var log messages. And we can see that 3 plugins have been consulted. And these 3 plugins, there are 2 with a 47.5 confidence. So they should be of equal value, and there's one with a 6.38% confidence. Now that you know about this confidence, you know that this really is not the suggestion that you should use, right? But we have 2 that have a 47.5% confidence, and they sound pretty good. So what we see here, if you want to allow FTPD to anon write, then you must tell SELinux about this by enabling the FTPD anon write boolean. And you can read non-man that's funny. You can read non-man page for details. Do setable -p FTPD anon write. So this is about booleans, right? So if we do getSable, just to do a short introduction about booleans, getSable -a, we see all booleans. I don't want to see all booleans. I only want to see booleans that relate to FTP. And these are the FTP related booleans. And we can see that there's an SELinux setting, which is this boolean that is denying anonymous writes. So no matter if you have configured everything correctly on your server, this boolean is denying it. So what you should do is setSable -p. -p to make it persistent. This is very important. Without -p, it is a temporary solution that is not going to survive a reboot. So setSable -p ftpd anon write, not wrote, write on. This setSable command should take a while, because it means that it's recompiling parts of the policy, and as it does after it has done so, and once it is finished, it should be working. Now let's do get enforce again, and you can see we're still permissive. So use set enforce enforcing to enforcing and test again. We're almost out of time, so you can do the test for yourself. I want to show you one more thing, and that is etc sysconfig. You have probably heard of etc sysconfig. This is this directory that is containing files, and in these files you are determining how services are starting, and there's a file for SELinux as well. Now I have seen some folks modifying the contents of etc sysconfig SELinux and setting that to SELinux equals permissive by default. The idea behind it, I can kind of understand it. The idea behind it is, so now that I have SELinux is permissive and I reboot, then SELinux is in permissive mode, and I am sure that I can focus on getting the services to work. Please do not do that, because you want to start with SELinux as the default behavior. Now, this story, of course, doesn't relate to anything that I have ever seen for real life, but imagine that you are sitting on the exam and you are doing the entire exam with SELinux equals permissive. And then the examiner says, dear guys, the exam is over, you have to go now. And you really have to go at that moment, because otherwise you will fail, and you didn't have time to switch back to enforcing mode. That would be bad, because your workstation would be rebooted and the examiner is going to do his thing, which is very secret, and the evaluation would be on a system that has SELinux as permissive, and you might have missed so many SELinux things, and you will be failing your exam because of this. So in SELinux troubleshooting, leave etc sysconfig SELinux alone, please. Which brings me to the end of this session. I hope it has given you a good impression of what SELinux is doing and how you can troubleshoot it. I really hope you have enjoyed it, and I hope to see you again in the next session.